Hello, welcome to the Earthwax podcast. I'm Jackson.
I'm Taj.
We decided to make a little podcast for your ear holes to have pleasure with, I guess.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean,
How did we come up with the name?
you know, we were sitting there. We looked at some random words, and we saw Earthwax, which is, I
Right.
guess, some sort of mineral or some shit
Yeah.
that
The
looks
good old random word generator. Yeah.
for real.
Thought it was suiting though, cause it's like the earwax, but like, cause it's in your ears. But like, bro, we're talking about Earth, bro. Shit's crazy.
Yeah, we're just talking about shit
Yeah.
going on Earth. I don't know what, but just anything. I guess everything is.
All right, we're basically just like talking about, I don't know, shit that happens in life.
Or just whatever the fuck we want. I don't know.
Right.
Because we just be talking about weird shit. Why not?
Exactly. Space. Everything. Yeah. So, to kick shit off, Jackson, who are you, and where do you go to school and all that?
I'm Jackson. I guess 16, almost 17 now. Go to school, Washburn High School, Minneapolis, and I don't know. I tend to kind of just live life as it comes, but I do tend to, I got my worries, but I try and just do what it is.
Do what it is.
Do what it do.
I am Taj. I am in 11th grade. I'm 17 years old now. I go to Washburn High School. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. My daily hobbies consist of sitting around and I don't know, not doing too much.
Yeah.
But all I do know is that me and Jackson here talk about some funky, crazy, wacky, introspective stuff. So,
yeah, I guess that's one way to put it.
yeah.
I don't know. We tend to we live life.
Exactly.
We live life, and as a part of that, we think of things, and then we tend to talk often and be interested in what other people are thinking. So, we kind of share those thoughts with one another.
With Jackson, I can just kind of talk forever. So, thought it'd be a good idea. Make a little podcast, talk about some things.
Why not record it? Why not share it with others?
Show the
See
world.
if other people are as weird or, I guess, confused as us.
How do you think you rank within weirdness compared to other people? Because I feel like everyone's unique, but I don't know, bro. I feel like I'm a special type.
I genuinely think most people probably think that.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people like to play the game where it's kind of trying to do that, fitting in and being with other people and just trying to kind of form and stick with other people's ideas of what people should be doing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I think realistically, I don't know, everyone has their own weirdness and is weird in their own way.
Right. Never try to be like someone else. You know? I don't know.
Because if you're trying to be something you're not, then if anything that happens to you isn't really happening to you, it's happening to someone that you're not.
Yeah.
And then, eventually that act is going to break, or you're not going to be able to keep it up, or you're just going to not enjoy it. Mm-hmm. And then all of that stuff you built upon that fake character is going to fall apart.
But that's the thing, too, is I don't know, sometimes it's sometimes people struggle with identity and stuff because they don't truly like their own identity, So it's I don't know, I feel with some people it's really a lot easier to feel accepted by trying to be someone else, and trying to kind of put away their weirdness. But I don't know, I feel it's way better to not care about what anyone thinks of you. When I see people doing weird shit, especially on social media, I always think that's kind of what I wish I could do. I wish I could show my weird side and just not give a fuck about what other people thought about me. But it's I don't know. People's eyes are always judging me, and I always change my actions according to what other people think about me. But yeah, I don't know. I think the world would be a great place if people didn't give a fuck what people think, but that's kind of impossible.
Yeah, I think people are always going to kind of care about what other people think of them. But I guess then the first step, rather than just being, hey, just don't do this, and I think the first step is to accept who you are and kind of be happy with that. And if you're not happy with an aspect of yourself, work, and you're truly not happy with it, you're not unhappy with it because of the way other people might think about it. Work towards making that part of your life something that you enjoy more. So
Very true.
Or and it's the same thing physically. I think people are worried about trying to, you know, exercise and other things to appeal to other people, but I think it should always be about working to improve yourself for yourself.
Hell yeah, do it for yourself, for sure. Also, like, you don't want your motivation, like, I don't know, if your motivation is, like, I look ugly, so I want to work out so that other people can accept me, no. You're not going to reach your goals that way. If you want to be pushed to reach your goals, you got to have internal drive because you want it for yourself, you know? I don't know.
You don't want your, like, motivations to lie elsewhere. You want it to be, like, with you inside of yourself. I don't think you want to be, you know, constantly worrying about other people and the external stuff in your life. I think it's good to have, especially with, like, closer friends or, like, people that you know truly, like, care about you and understand you, having those people to kind of, like, talk to or, like, help you, get motivated, I guess, or, like, motivate each other. Yeah. But I think, like, if it's someone that, you know, if there's, like, a girl that you're interested in, you're like, maybe I'm not attractive enough, I think spending all of your time to work out for that, even maybe that's not the situation, and maybe they just don't like you because, you know, they just don't, or they don't want to be, there's something could be going on in their life, right? I think it's weird for you to then technically have that goal being unachievable, and then you're gonna be unhappy with the results. I think you should have the goal be for yourself so that you can be happy with the results.
I feel like if you want to, like, if you use, like, other people approving of you as your motivation, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment, you know? Because, like, if you set a goal within yourself, it's very easy, I'm not going to say very easy, but it's a lot easier to kind of control that, you know what I mean? Like, if someone doesn't like you, or whatever, maybe, and you think it's because they don't, like, think you look good, you working out isn't necessarily going to make them like you more, you know? But if you're working out for an internal drive in yourself because, like,
you want to be healthy, you want to be more fit, you're, like, personally, you know, you want to improve, like, you know, your strength.
It's like making your goals attainable, you know what I mean?
And, like, making sure you know that they're attainable. And, like, rather than having it set based on, like, an opinion of someone else, making sure that it's, like, just a set point. So, like, it's one thing to be like, oh, I want to exercise until this person likes me, because that may never happen. But saying, oh, I want to exercise until, you know, my like, BMI is this, or, like, my muscle percentage,
See, those are, like, whatever. Attainable
goals. Those are, like, goals that, I guess, you know, it might help with that other thing. But at the end of the day, you know you can work towards that. And you know it's something that there's going to be a point where you achieve it. And even, you know, I think when you achieve your goals, you should always try and, like, move past them.
Always go farther. Yeah.
Because, like, it's like if you reach that and then you just say, oh, fuck it, I'm not going to work out anymore, or fuck it, I'm not going to read anymore if your goal is to read for the whole year, then, you know, there was no point because you're going to lose all that progress and have to do it again. So I think it's important to less have a goal of reaching a certain point and more have a goal of making a healthy habit or have a goal of making something, like, enjoyable for yourself.
Setting goals is just, like, very, like, I don't know, it's very healthy, you know what I mean? Because, like, what I notice is, like, I don't know, sometimes for me at least, I get very unmotivated with longer tasks, and if it's a goal that I don't feel is attainable, I always just kind of, like, slack on it and I procrastinate and I don't have the will to do it. But what I've been noticing is, like, lately, like, I've been going to the gym more and stuff, and it's like I'll set a goal for myself, like I'll be on the elliptical and I'll say, well, I want to run 1 mile, you know, without stopping. And when I do that, it's like a, I don't know, it's a fairly, like, it's not too hard of a goal. But when I do that, I'm getting close and I realize I can go more, and I don't take the easy way out and say,
and just, like, stop.
Well, I'm going to stop. Exactly. So then I change my goal to, like, well, I'm going to go, like, 1.5 miles, you know, see if I can do that. And it's just like, once you have broken the first goal, you just feel so good because you're saying, like, I've achieved my goal. I don't know, just smashing your goals, I don't know, like, going, like, through them, you know what I mean? Going more than you originally planned. It just feels so good, you know? So, I think it's a really healthy habit to just, like, set realistic goals instead of setting, like, unrealistic goals, like, I'm going to get with this girl or whatever, because, I don't know.
I think also, like, a strategy, if you think, you know, something is too hard for you to do, or it seems like a huge task that's, like, you know, not possible to just do, I think breaking it up into, like, smaller things. So rather than, like, hey, I'm going to, you know, become, like, a health dude, I'm going to, be super active.
Right.
I'm gonna exercise a ton. Make it like, oh, I'm gonna go to the gym once a week for a month, and then the next month, oh, I'm gonna go to the gym twice a week, and then eventually build it up until you're at a point where you're happy going to the gym like that much. Or like if it's like, oh, I want to read every night, don't start with every night. Start with once a week and move it up every week. One thing
I noticed with those goals that you're saying is like numbers have a lot to do with it. You know what I mean? Because like you can tell yourself, oh, I'm gonna read more, or I'm gonna work out more. Well, that doesn't mean shit.
Planning is important.
Right, yeah. Either like if you set a concrete goal for yourself with a number or an amount or a frequency or whatever, it's going to be a lot easier to track your goals, you know what I mean? Like I feel like, I don't know, it's just like...
There's also a lot of apps that help you with that. Like you can say like, oh, I want to do this, this often, and then it'll remind you, hey, you haven't done it this time. And like, even with this like podcast, it's one of my goals now to do this every week. So having it as every week rather than just like, oh, I want to make this podcast every once in a while. It's a lot easier.
It's a realistic goal.
Yeah, it's realistic. It's cemented. It's a scheduled thing you can follow. And personally, I work better with schedules. Some people might not.
Right.
And I guess make goals. I think as you kind of move on in life, and we're still young, so like we don't know that much, but I think as we even get older, I think you'll kind of realize what kind of strategies work for you for self-improvement and goal making and just like things in general. Like I know like my mom, when it comes to like doing any sort of like chores or like anything like that, she doesn't really like care about like scheduling things or anything, but like
I struggle with that a lot.
I like to have everything scheduled. Like I schedule like this is how often I'm going to do this is how often I'm going to do this. And
no, that is very true. Like, I notice like when we're hanging out and stuff, like you'll be like, yo, like let's set up a day to do this. Yeah. And a lot of the times when people say that, my response is like, I don't plan that far ahead. I always say that because it's like,
the problem is I also don't, but it's like I want to because it's easier to then, if like I'm trying to talk to somebody else about making plans, I can kind of like figure out when to do what thing and what will work. Because like if somebody's like, oh, I can hang out Monday and Tuesday, and or like Monday or Tuesday, and the other person's like, oh, I can hang out like only Tuesday, then you can be like, okay, I'm gonna hang out with this person Tuesday, the other person I can hang out Monday or Tuesday, hang out with Monday, and then you kind of get that.
I kind of like sometimes I like the spontaneity of life, you know what I mean? Where it's like I don't know what's gonna happen today because like when I plan things, sometimes I get anxiety about it because
then you have to.
If I'm thinking about it for the whole day and it's like I have to stick to it, and if I'll be thinking like, well, I'm not really feeling it. But then it's like I don't want to cancel on a commitment that I've made. Yeah. So that's why a lot of the times I don't like scheduling, but at the same time it always ends up working the best for me. Because the thing is too is like it's a lot easier for me to bail out on things when there's not a specific schedule. And that's something that I tend to do. Like if a girl asks me to hang out or something, and we have like something like I don't know, I'll be like, okay, maybe like this day would work, or I always say maybe tomorrow, and I leave myself that little getaway because my anxiety will always tell me take whatever chance you can to get the fuck out of this scenario, and like I don't know why that is, but like I don't know, shit just happens, like I don't know, but so I think scheduling kind of helps me to like if it's a concrete thing that I know I can't miss, then it like really just helps me to ignore that anxiety. And that's the thing is I need to start building that into like a routine to just ignore that anxiety and just say fuck it, I need to do whatever I'm supposed to do.
I think, but also on the other hand, if it's something where when you make a plan, if you aren't feeling it and then because you made that plan you're afraid to like bail on it, or like if you're not feeling well or something, I don't think you should be afraid to say like, hey, I'm not feeling it, I'm not feeling well, can we just do this another time? I think it's beneficial to have that set in stone thing so you don't have that kind of like, oh, this is easy escape anxiety because I said, oh, maybe. And it's not like you're like lying, you're just kind of not telling like a full truth, I guess, but not really. It's kind of a weird version of that. But
no, I'm the king of making excuses to get out of shit.
Absolutely, me too. Yeah. But I think it's important to kind of find a balance, I guess, between sticking to a schedule but also prioritizing, yourself and your health, mental or physical. Really in any situation, not just making plans with people, I think. Even though a lot of the time I think as humans you kind of want to care for others first.
Right, exactly. I struggle with that a lot.
Yeah, but I think it's important that sometimes you need to take a step back and you got to be like, okay, I need to put myself first, and I need to realize I need some time or I need this, and kind of prioritize that. I
yeah,
guess.
for sure. Yeah, it's all about what I've noticed is like, it's a balance. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you have to care for others in a certain extent. Like, you don't want to just like fuck up other people's lives and shit and make them feel like shit. And sometimes you will have to kind of step out of the way to care for other people just to be a nice guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's
but
weird...
it's like, I don't know, it's like you also, a lot of the times what I notice, at least like for me sometimes in relationships and shit, it's like I end up doing that way too much. I step out of my way to help other people, and then it ends up having like a really bad side effect on my mental health.
And I think it's important that, like, it's something that most people kind of realize at some point. I don't know, like, how much truth there is to this, but I feel like it's pretty, like, evident that it's hard to care for other people if you're not caring for yourself.
Yeah, right.
So I think that's why it's important to prioritize yourself, because it's like, how am I supposed to care for all these other people if I'm not taking care of myself and what I need and things like that? So I think life is this weird, like, balancing act of trying to, like, you got to carry all these plates, but if you try and carry too many and you try and deal with too much, you're going to drop all of them.
Right.
And it's better to carry, like, as much as you can without dropping them rather than dropping all of them. Or dropping a few off,
it's
or
like,
leaving a few somewhere.
What is that saying? Don't bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah, I think it's...
Yeah.
It's important to know what your, like, limit is and then balance that with, whatever you need to do. Because you don't want to end up fucking up everything just because of, like, one extra thing, you know?
Right.
Like, it's better to just stay with what you can manage, and, maybe try to add something to it, but nothing that's gonna, like, risk fucking everything. Like, be like...
Simplicity is bliss, man. Like, I don't know. Also, like, I don't know, sometimes I just feel like a lot of my anxiety is derived from, like, stupid-ass shit that I've learned on the internet. Like, those, like, Snapchat news things and shit? I don't know. Sometimes, like... And you know that shit where you were talking about, like, the dude one time, he had a weird hair growing on his body. And he, like, plucked it, and then he fucking passed out.
He passed out because it was a fucking... a nerve,
it's
not
just
a
like
hair.
Shit like that. It's like, if I didn't hear that, I wouldn't have unnecessary, like,
there's a lot of, like, stupid shit.
Yeah, I feel like I've learned so much shit that there's just, like, shit cluttering my mind in every move that I make. Like, I don't know.
It feels like you could, like, make a wrong step.
Yeah, right. Like the age of the information age or whatever. It's cool because you learn a lot of shit. But at the same time, it's like sometimes I wish, like, I didn't learn a lot of this shit.
You learn a lot of, like, useless shit too, and, like, unhelpful stuff.
Exactly.
I think it's important to, like, see those things and be like, okay, this is unhelpful information. This is unlikely. This is stupid. Let me not worry about it.
But like, it's hard to say that.
It is. It's really hard because it's like, you want to say, like, with, I guess this is a weird situation because it's not actually, like, this simple. With, like, the coronavirus happening right now, it's like, it's... this shouldn't be weighing on my brain constantly because it's inhibiting my ability to do other things. But it's like, it's a fucking worldwide disease that is literally like killing so many people.
I feel like it's reasonable to worry about to an extent. You know what I mean? Like, if you're in China, dude, holy fuck, I'm sorry. Like, you must be freaking out. But it's like, I don't know, here, shit, man. Like, I know this one kid who wears a fucking surgical mask. Like,
those things don't actually...
I know, it doesn't even help you. It's like, I don't know, people are, like, so fucking, like, paranoid for no fucking reason.
Paranoia is a fucking killer, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a fucking monster.
Yeah. That's what, like, keeps people inside and shit. Is because, like, I don't know, anxiety is a fucking bitch, man. That shit sucks. Like, I don't know, in sometimes it can definitely be, like, pretty good. Like, for instance, like, procrastination, like, you won't do shit, but then, like, the drive that makes you do stuff, like, let's say you hold off a month-long project until the last night. You have all of that anxiety as your driving force to get it done, and you can use that to your advantage. So that's why a lot of people procrastinate, and they end up doing things better when they procrastinate. At least for me, that's how it
when
works.
I do it, like, first day, like, sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm just going to get it done first day so I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
There's no worry there, so you kind of just make some shitty stuff. So, like, I usually find when I procrastinate that it's, like, much better, which is why what I used to do, I just work better under pressure, I think.
Yep.
I think too much. There's a point where there's like a tipping point, and I just kind of like break down.
Yeah.
But like what I used to do, because a lot of my teachers in like the past 2 years didn't have like late policy things, like you could just turn anything in.
Yeah.
So literally like the last week of every quarter, I would just do I wouldn't do any of my homework, any of my like worksheets, and the last week I would just do everything and turn it in. Yeah. Which like I think realistically, late assignments, I hate homework and late stuff as well, because like I think, and I have one of my teachers has this really cool philosophy about homework where it's like she'll assign homework, but if you already get the subject and you don't need the homework, the homework isn't mandatory. It's only for you to use as a tool if you need help or like more work to study on or more problems to like work with.
But that's the thing,
and I think that's
be honest with yourself.
Yeah, that is a problem. But I think, especially in high school, it's important that like we are treated as like adults almost, because we're moving towards that adulthood, and we shouldn't have our hands carried. And it's important for people to realize for themselves, and if they end up not doing it, then it's on them if they fuck up and didn't learn, and then they'll know in the future, okay, if I actually need to do something, I'm gonna do it. And it's the same thing with like work being late. I also think it doesn't matter necessarily when you learn something, as long as you're learning that information.
Okay, well, one reason why I would say that's debatable is because a lot of the reason why we go to school isn't necessarily to educate ourselves, it's to educate ourselves about being educated. It's about getting in a routine to learn stuff and to get stuff done by a deadline. That's a huge part of it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but I think like that's why I think like within reason, because I also think like that's why I think there's like that overall like quarter ending thing, things like that. But I think like if I have an assignment and I turn it in like like a week later, then I think realistically the reason why a lot of teachers have late penalties is because it gives them more work at the end of the quarter, I guess, if you just turn everything in and it's more work for them. Yeah. But I think part of that's like you're assigning these assignments, you should have the expectation that they're going to be turned in and that you have to grade them. Mm-hmm. Or you should have some sort of tool for students to there are ways for you to deal with that, whether it's not assigning as many assignments or just not really assigning anything and doing things in like a different way. And I do get it though, because it's a weird way to like because it's you don't want another person to have to work at their house at night to grade all of your assignments on the last day of the quarter.
Well, like the thing is like I was saying, like at work or whatever, like because in school, right, late penalties, that's not shit. Like there's no real consequences for that. But long term, if you're working somewhere and you have to like, let's say get some shit done by a quota, if you turn it in like 2 days later after the quota every time, they're gonna be like, this person's not getting a fucking raise,
that's I mean, that's why I think it's important to, like, as a high schooler, to be treated as an adult, right? And then have students kind of realize what works for them and realize that, I guess, that they need to do stuff for themselves rather than having like their hands held through it. I think like obviously a lot of times students would like the teachers that kind of hold their hand through everything and check up and say like, hey, this is due, this is due, this is due, you haven't done these yet. But I think it's also like, okay, you're a high schooler, you're a junior, you're 16 or 17, right. You're almost an adult, you probably already have a job or will in the next little bit. Yeah. You need to be able to be responsible for your own shit and not have somebody else, constantly pestering you for it. Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing too, is like the classrooms, especially in Washburn, are very like, they're varied. You know what I mean? Like, there's some kids who it's like you're a junior, you're gonna be an adult soon. And then there's other kids who it's like, holy fuck, how are you a junior?
I know.
You know what I mean, there's some
and
kids
that's the thing, really is I think those kids kind of need the wake up call of getting to it. Yeah. And it's like, okay, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. You need like this constant assistant and these constant like, you need all of these tools to help you manage yourself. But it's like, you should be able to do that because realistically, once you're an adult, no one's going to do that for you anymore. True. So it's better to build those skills when it's not going to have as big of like an effect, rather than being dropped in off the deep end and then kind of, ending up having to build those skills on the spot like that, rather than
No, that's very true. Like, people don't help you for shit when you're an adult.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
you're responsible for your own
right,
shit, and you got to deal with it. And if you don't, then it's on you. It's not on anybody else.
Like, I feel like it's really, really easy to take shit for granted. Like, a lot of us, I'd say everyone in the world is guilty of that in some manner, you know? And I wouldn't even say guilty. It's just human nature. But the thing is like, kids, like, when they're in high school, I feel like that's one of the things that they take for granted the most is, like, just the help and the individual attention that they get, you know? Because when you're an adult, man, you're just, like, I don't know, you're on your own. And if you don't develop the skills to help yourself early, you're kind of fucked. Like you said, it's like you just got to start from scratch type shit when you're an adult. Like, I don't know.
And I think there's a big part where, like, I genuinely think the best time to build and try and do as many things that have, like, these possible downsides or risks is before you're an adult, so it's before it matters. So, like, you know, if you want to try things or you want to, like, learn how to do something, it's better to do it before it might have, like, a, like, downside and it's less of a risk, I guess. So it's better to learn those things now rather than when it could affect your employment or, you know, going your like tens of thousands of dollars that you've put into school. Or whatever you do after fucking high school.
That shit's fucked. See, like, people really dropped hundreds of thousands on school.
There's people that just spend fucking so much money on school, bro.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get that shit. That's one of the reasons why I'm deterred from college. Just because, like, simply, like, the money. And that shouldn't even be a fucking problem. You know what I mean? If
the only reason it is because people will pay it.
Exactly,
the only reason schools can cost so much is because people will pay that much to go.
It's fucking ridiculous.
So
and it's like people just spend so much money that they don't fucking have, you know?
Yeah, and then you end up, even though you go to school and you get a job like either you love or that pays really well, a lot of that money goes towards paying off all the money that you spend.
Exactly.
And then what? Now you have to, now after you're like 30 something, now you're actually just living a normal life. And then on top of that, right now being a homeowner is going to be hard to sell. So then, you know, that's even more money that you have to take out on a like loan for a house or a mortgage or whatever, and you have to pay that off. So you're never really out of debt until you're like fucking 40 or damn near retirement almost.
I feel like the system is set up for us to have the most money as possible go to like interest to banks, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it's like student loans, house loans, car loans, all that shit is set up so that you don't pay money out of pocket, but you pay with loans that have super high interest rates. It's not like super high, but over time and the amount of money that
any interest rate on or on like a $300,000 house is something.
Yep. And I know like, I don't know, the government makes fucking bank off the banks, you know. Banks make bank off the banks. It's just like, I don't know, it's the big fucking money machine, man. Like, I don't know. And like, it makes sense, right? Money makes the world go round, but it's still just like so fucked.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do after high school. Honestly, I'm at the point where I don't want to go to college, but I don't know how much I really want to do a trade because I'm trying to think, you know, because of how much Social Security is taken up, and because of, like, I don't know when I'm going to be able to retire, I want to do a job that isn't going to destroy my body by the time I'm 60 because I might have to work till I'm fucking 80 or something. So, like, and I don't know if, you know, being an electrician or a plumber and all of that, like, physical and manual labor is going to be something I can do until I'm that old. And I know, like, you know, at a certain point you can manage that stuff rather than actually doing it, but it's a whole thing. But I don't know what I, like, want to do. Like, there's a lot of things I'm interested in, but a lot of those things aren't things that you can, you know, go to school to learn how to do and then be placed in a job doing it. It's more that you kind of have to do it and hope that you're good enough at it that people, like, will be interested. It's like, even like with what Cole is doing with, like, music and stuff, you know? Yeah. It's like, he's really good at making music, but there is still part of that where it's like, if he doesn't end up as, like, a musician or something, then, like, it's not something that you can choose to do. You can't just say, hey, I'm going to be a musician.
That's very true, yeah. It's kind of based on luck.
There's a little bit of luck.
It's a mix of luck and skill.
I used to think it was all luck, almost. Not, like, all luck, but I used to think a good chunk of it was luck. But recently I've kind of taken a step back. And I've thought, rather than, you know, it's not luck as much as I think if you're making good enough content, that's also something that people can't get elsewhere. Yeah. So something that's unique and good. And you're, I guess, you know, sharing it to enough people and advertising it enough, I think it will work, because if people like something enough, they will share that with other people. And I think that is something about the information age.
That's like, I don't know, I feel like...
I think there is obviously luck to an extent, right. But it's...
But it's like, even like me and Cole know so many people who like, just like, I don't know, there's a lot of talented people, like extremely, like shockingly talented people musically, who just like do not get the recognition they deserve. Yeah. So I don't know, it's like, it's a fucking big world out there. You know, like SoundCloud has like hundreds of hours a day put on it, you know, just in music, and it's like the chance that like your shit is gonna go like not be swept under by that huge wave. I think that's what data.
Part of it is, like, you know, knowing how to share it and market it and advertise it. Yeah. I think huge part of this most of those types of jobs, it's not even just, you know, the actual job itself, but marketing is a huge part of it. Right. And I think, you know, realistically, if he wanted to go into music, or anybody wants to go into music, but they wanted to know what degree in college to go after, I think marketing would be marketing would be better than going to music school. Yeah, that's 100%. Actually very true. Yeah. But it's just, and I do think, you know, there is a chunk of it that is luck, but I think if you decide as a person to blame it on, oh, I'm just unlucky, as the reason that, you know, you're not being, I guess, seen or followed or whatever,
then you need to do something different.
I think rather than saying, oh, it's just that I'm unlucky, I'm doing everything well, I think rather than that, you should be like, oh, maybe I can improve in this way or another way. It's the growth mindset. I think it's important to not only say it's luck. I think it's important to be like, okay, there's other factors. Maybe my content isn't good enough. Or maybe, like, what I'm doing is something that people can find elsewhere, or these things, and it's like, okay, how can I change what I'm doing so that it's something that people want to see more of, and people want to share with people other themselves. And
that's the thing that's really important, is like that reflection, you know, like just thinking about it, and like also getting constructive criticism. Like a lot of people, like, I don't know, they want to hear that their song is good. It's like, I don't know, I
would want to hear my song is shit and why it's shit, so I can make it better.
That would be like, I would appreciate that more than anything, because 100 people can tell me, dude, that shit's fire. And I'll be like, yes. But what would even be better is, hey, man, here's where you can improve. Not necessarily saying, like, this is shit. But even if they do say it's shit, say why. Yeah. What about it? You know,
as long as it's actually, like, constructive. Like, criticism is only beneficial or it's only, like, valuable. And I think people like to criticize for the sake of criticizing, rather than saying, okay, hey, you know, let's say why. So, like, I think it's always beneficial that if you're going to say if you're going to say something is bad, or you don't like it, or whatever, always say why, or like what can be improved, or how, you know, how to make it something that you might enjoy. And obviously, at a certain point, people aren't going to want to cater to every single person, and because music is a weird one, because, you know, it's so subjective on whether people like it, because people like different genres, different sounds, different things. But it's important to know if you're making the music for kind of like a specific audience almost, and a lot of that audience is saying the same thing is off, or something that they're not interested in.
You can learn from that shit.
Learn from it. Yeah, move forward, and like the next thing you make, keep that in mind. Even if you don't act on it, be like, okay.
A lot of the thing is too is like, you got to put your fucking ego aside. You know, like some people just hate hearing that their shit isn't good, you know? And it's like, I don't know, that's like a big part of like surviving in the world, you know, is like just accepting, like, if someone says like, hey, here's something you need to address, you can't just be like, oh, they're hating on me because they're jealous. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, I don't know. It's like constructive criticism can help literally anybody in any situation. Yeah. I don't know.
It's all work an office job, and someone can be like, oh, your typing is inefficient. Exactly. And it's like, even if you decide, okay, no, I don't want to put in the effort to type better or something. Yeah. Knowing that, rather than being like, oh, no, it's not, you're just hating because you don't want to see me succeed or some shit. I think it's stupid. I think it's stupid to think that you're perfect, or what you're doing is perfect. I think there's always room for improvement. Facts. But
I hate the word perfect. I hate that shit.
But like we said earlier, you know, improvement, even if there is that room for improvement, manage it well and make sure you're not trying to reach an impossible perfection, because I think nothing can be perfect.
Exactly.
And trying to make yourself perfect can get you wrapped up in that situation where you're setting unattainable goals and then you're always unhappy because you're never able to achieve that, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it's just a whole mess.
Right. I don't know. I feel like perfect is just like an unreachable things. And I've had some people in my life say like, "Oh, this is perfect," and I'm just like, no.
You could improve
Sorry.
this. You can improve that.
Yeah, like
there's always something to improve.
Yeah. So, yep, it's crazy.
There's always like a flaw or
right,
like a
right.
downside. There's just like there's a flaw to every sort of path after fucking school.
That's why, like, if you think like, I don't know, some people are like, oh my god, like a lot of the thing too. Well, I'm not even gonna like mock people, but like I don't know, it's like if you're depressed, it's very hard for you to see like, here's what I can actually do to make myself better, because like your mind is kind of in a fog. It's like almost like you don't really want to expend effort to get better, and that's why like a big part of
the disorder is having or like the
and it's like you distract yourself, you know what I mean, like I don't know, it's like going on your phone is fucking stupid. Like I've lost so many hours of just like thinking time because of my phone. And it's like, you know how you think of the best thoughts you ever think of in the shower? It's because you're understimulated. You're not on your phone. You're not fucking distracted. You're literally like, it's like when you're about to sleep and when you're in the shower, at least for me, is like when I think of the coolest, craziest shit.
Yeah,
you know?
I've set a lot of goals for, I guess, not necessarily 2020, because I hate the idea of like a New Year's resolution, because I think that's kind of setting up for failure, but just like I don't want it to be like, oh, just for this year. I think it's just like goals for my life, I guess. But one of the goals I set was that I want to, once a week at least, just for an hour on like one day a week, just to like think, just like sit there undistracted, unstimulated, without like my phone or talking to anybody or fidgeting with anything. I just want to like kind of sit there or lay there or whatever and just like think.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of benefit to that. And
it's like meditating. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I guess so.
I don't know. Like I have this guided journal. I think journaling is super cool too. Just like any way that you can reflect and just think and just fucking just keep yourself undistracted. You know what I mean? If you really think about life, that's the thing, is like we crave distraction so much in this like age of
I think
just, like,
part
technology.
of it's out of fear.
Yeah.
Even like fear of realizing a flaw with yourself or something, or realizing that you're not happy with something.
Right.
I think it's a fear of realization, so you keep yourself busy.
Yep. Sometimes, sometimes I don't want to think about shit. I don't want to think about change. Sometimes I'll know my room is messy. I'll know that I don't need to think about it.
I just kind of put it in the back of my mind.
Exactly,
and
right. And it's like it helps you for you to distract yourself. Distracting yourself is the easiest thing, because you can pretend like you have no idea what the fuck is going on, because then you don't have to think about it, which is just fucked. It's like a huge cycle. It gets worse and worse. Your room will get more messy, and you'll just want to think about it less and less. You'll crave distraction more and more. It's just fucked.
It's even like when you're actually cleaning your room, you look for distractions so much that you like find like childhood toys and you start like playing with stupid shit.
Exactly.
And it's like, okay, I haven't played with this since I was 6, and it's like a fucking like toy lightsaber or some shit. And I'm fucking around with it because I do not want to finish cleaning my room.
Exactly.
Because I would rather be doing anything
even
else.
Like subconsciously, I feel like we just crave distraction. You know what I mean? And it's like, I was watching this TED Talk about like kind of like ADHD and just like the reason why people are so fucking distracted, and it's because of technology. It's because we're we teach ourselves young to crave that stimulation, and it's like in video games and stuff, there's a constant like feedback loop of like you click, something happens, and then it's like you gotta like do something like shit like that. It's like constantly things popping up. There's constantly like outside things stimulating you so much that you forget how to stimulate yourself. Shit's fucking crazy.
I think it's always beneficial to obviously not ever say that something's purely terrible, or like with video games, even though like obviously there is that like there are all sorts of terrible things. That's why it's just important to manage it. And I think even
balance.
And I think talking about even like technology, I don't even think it's a new thing to be so like distracted. I think it's just whatever the newest technology is at the time. Not even it necessarily being like an electronic type of technology. people will find a way to distract themselves with something. I think right now it's definitely at like an all-time high because everything's so portable. But like,
it's even like, you know, like the Apple Watch and shit. It's like first, like,
absolutely.
Well, like first it's like bring it back to television. You know, like kids at home will be distracted by television, but then if they were anywhere else but home, well, they weren't distracted. Mm-hmm. Well, then you have a fucking television.
They find things to distract themselves.
Right,
but
true.
Like,
but like something like electronically, like just stimulating. You know, it's like they have telephones in their fucking pockets, and now it's like they have fucking Apple Watches on their hand. It's like a notification will pop up and distract you wherever you are. You know, you just look at your wrist.
Which is why I think it's important not to necessarily, like for me, I don't know, part of it is because I am so like technology person, I guess, but it's like, I think I found a good way that like I am able to just not look at my phone if I don't want to. And I think part of that's because I'm not kind of wrapped up in like who cares about me and like my appearance and like what people are thinking about me, and I'm more just worried about myself, that I'm able to kind of like, if I want to, I can just stop. And I think it's important to kind of either, you know, stop with the technology and stop with all of these things, or figure out a way for you personally to be able to stop when it's important to stop. So, like, you know, at school, I'm never on my phone because there's no need for me to be, and I have nothing to do on my phone that I feel is essential. Mm-hmm. I'm not, like, you know, going to check social media or Snapchat people because it's like, oh, I can do this later. And, you know, fuck them if they get mad for me, you know, waiting till the end of the day to Snapchat them, and they're mad about, like, me waiting 3 hours. It's like, dude, who gives a shit when I respond to your fucking message?
No,
it's like,
I can't fold for that shit. Like, people getting mad at you for not checking your phone.
Yeah.
It's like, I am sorry, I have a fucking life.
Yeah, for real. And it's even like, I don't know, there's this weird thing that people do, and I was talking to my friend because he's a fucking mongrel and he's talking to this girl or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was like afraid of like double texting or whatever that shit is, and I hate that.
Yeah.
I think it's so stupid to think like, or like, and even if it's not just like him that thinks that, and it's, you know, not your personal worries, but like they're gonna think you're weird for it. It's like, the fuck?
No, I don't like, think it's weird. I just think it like it definitely, one thing that it shows though is that you show interest. You know what I mean? Which isn't a bad thing. Like, I think as people get older, and from what I've like heard from older people, is like, as you get older, it's so much more valuable to just be direct than play like some stupid fucking like mind games about like, I'm not gonna text them yet because I'm gonna leave them waiting or guessing, or like, I can't double text because then I seem like a creep. But it's like, maybe I forgot to say something, or I want to start a new conversation, or this or that. It's like, who gives a shit? Like, I'm just trying to talk to somebody. Doesn't have to be this whole like game or you can't let like societal taboos control your actions. You know. And
I think people get too wrapped up in that shit. It's fucking stupid.
Very easy to get wrapped up in that shit, especially as teenagers, when like everyone surrounding you is just like, it's like a fucking mob mentality, bro. Dude, like, it's like people don't even understand shit. Like, I don't know. I had this one friend, like, we were basically like teaching him how to use Snapchat, you know, and like he would like be talking to girls or whatever, and then they would ask him something, and he would open their message and just keep it open, and he would ask us what to say, and then reply later. It's like there's so many like, and we were like, no, bro, you have to reply right away. Because it's like, why do you have to do that? Why can't you think about shit? Why can't you ask the fucking boys what to say? Like, I don't know.
And I leave people on like open all the time, because for me, I think it's like, I don't want it to be me responding because I feel like I should. I want it to be like, I'm gonna answer them. And I think it's also the stupid thing where, like, when I was in like a long ass relationship, there was this expectation that whenever I was texted, I would respond and like constantly be talking to this person. Right. But like, before like phones were around, people weren't constantly talking. They didn't have to talk about everything they did, and that's why it was so like conversations were more like meaningful when they would be together. Because it's like, we're kind of catching up, rather than,
very true.
I'm going to literally talk to you on the phone constantly, so there's nothing new going on.
Nothing fucking new, exactly.
You're like, what the fuck am I supposed to talk about? Like, I don't do anything with my life. I literally sit and play video games for 8 hours a day. Like, what the fuck?
And that build, you're right. Like, back in the day, it was like, when you saw someone, you fucking, like, missed them, you know what I mean?
And you were like, I'm going to tell you everything. You're going to, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that shit's fucking crazy, man. I don't know. That's very true. I never even thought about that. Because, like, technology enables us to, like,
constantly check up on
and that
and
shit's so fucking annoying. One thing I noticed with my last relationship is, like, a lot of the times, like, in person, oh my god, it was awesome, right? Just fucking fine, right? The only problem,
text,
exactly, over text is that's what fucks it all up, bro. It's all fucking technology. Like, I don't know. I literally wish I just didn't have a phone.
Yeah, it gave me like a when I was in a relationship, having like that, having, you know, being able to like maybe be upset about something and being too afraid to kind of talk to them about it face to face is so much easier for me to like hide behind my phone. And like if I was upset about something, I would just like, when I would be with them and I would, you know, be completely fine, or like, you know, maybe like obviously a little off or a little upset, but I wouldn't like be super comfortable to talk about it. And that's because, you know, later I could just like text them like, oh hey, this is what was up.
And I can hide behind the screen.
And I can hide behind it because, you know, if something happens, I don't have to like deal with, you know, physically, you know, seeing that. And I think, but I realize now that I think there's value in seeing how what you say or what you think or what's bothering you, what might be bothering you, how that might also affect the other person. And it's hard to see that when they're texting you rather than looking at them face to face.
Right, because body language says a lot, like, subconsciously.
And like looking at somebody's eyes, you can see like so much about how they're feeling.
Yeah.
So it's like if like I say something and it's like I'm saying something because I'm hurt or something, and I say it right to them, you know, seeing that me being hurt about that, or me having that bother me or something, seeing if that might bother them, or like if there's some sort of weird disconnect, but actually seeing that rather than just like texting it. And because like I like to think of things like, or less so now, but I'm a very like logical, like this like this equals this, input output, this is how this works, rather than there being more wiggle room about it and more of like a gray area. I guess I thought of a lot of things in black and white, and I think that's a huge like mistake, I guess.
Very true, yeah.
Because I think there's definitely more to humans, I guess, especially.
There's a lot of unspoken shit, you know what I mean? It's like the world, I don't know. There's a lot of shit that's like, that's why I'm glad that I'm able to understand social cues and stuff. Like, I think about, like, people who have, like, autism or Asperger's, and it's like, it's very, like, I don't know, I'm just thankful to be able to understand things without having to try to understand them, you know what I mean? Because there's some people who truly just don't understand, like, physical, like, body cues and stuff like that. And that shit is, like, I don't know, like, it's very, like...
It's scary to think that, like... It's scary to think about, I guess.
I take that shit for granted, for sure.
There's a lot of things that you take for granted, and then, you know, if you really take, you know, some time to every day or however often to think, you kind of think about those things, and you're like, wow. I'm taking this for granted. I should be more appreciative.
And even, like, my phone, I was like, just fucking 2 minutes ago, I was like, oh my god, wish I didn't have a phone. Well, no, I'm glad I have a phone.
Yeah.
But it's
like those aspects of, I guess, like, the social structure around social media, I guess. It's less the actual phone itself and the technology and all the benefits to it, and it's more that people our age have created this culture around it that's so fucking, like, toxic, I guess. And, like, so hard to, like, keep up with and deal with and live with, rather than just being like, hey, can we just, like, be people and not worry about what other people expect from us or think of us?
It's all about not being sheep. Can't be sheeple, man.
Bro, it's all about Animal Farm, honestly. The whole world is about Animal Farm, not the other way around. Absolutely. But...
I was never a Nintendo gamer myself. I always just stuck to fucking violent video games where you would kill people.
For me, it was very much the opposite. But I don't know. I think I don't know. It depends on, you know, how that forms you, but I don't know how much that actually changes. I've recently, so I used to think that no one was born, I guess, a certain way, or born in a way that they would end up in a certain situation, and that it was all based on external factors as they were growing up. But I do genuinely think that some people are not necessarily born and destined to be in a certain position, but just like born differently and think differently, and I think everyone thinks differently, and that affects things. Because even me and my brother, we were raised exactly the same, and we live vastly different lives.
That's very true, yeah.
And it doesn't make, any sense why that would be.
Well, that's the thing too. Is it depends who you surround yourself by too. But that's also. The thing.
But it's like
you naturally gravitate towards people too, and towards friend groups and stuff.
And it's like why if me and my brother were raised the same way, why did we kind of decide to hang out with different types of people rather than the same types of people? I think there is part of it that is like you are born a specific way. And my mom has also been thinking about that because it's like she used to kind of beat herself up over like the way things have like turned out or how things have happened, but it's like fuck it, dude, like she did everything she could. People do whatever they can, and I think some people are bound to do some things, and that's just how it is, or being like that situation.
You can't try and change yourself, because sometimes I don't know. That's like, I mean, to a certain extent, you can change who, like... You can change your
doing,
habits, exactly right. You can change, like, what you're doing.
You can't change, like, who you are deep down.
Yeah.
Like, that person can kind of, like, change and form differently and be different over time, but you can't just, like, say, hey, I don't want to be this person anymore. You can, and you can work towards being a better person or a different person. But...
And let's say you're, like, predisposed to addiction because your parents were, like, alcoholics or whatever, addicted to whatever... it's like things like that. It's like that is a part of you. Yeah, you're predisposed to addiction, and it's a lot easier for you to get addicted to stuff. But the thing is, it's all about breaking those habits and recognizing them. That's a really important thing. Is like it brings you back to like self-reflection too. Yeah, it's like
you have to know yourself.
Right.
What's up? You have to. It also comes back to taking care of yourself before others even, and prioritizing your own health and taking time to like. Think about that and reflect on that,
right?
And realizing, okay, maybe what I'm doing is stupid, or maybe what I'm doing is something I shouldn't be doing. Maybe I want to change this, maybe I don't,
right? A huge part of like my past, like I don't know, I'd say like past like 6 months or so has been like reflecting more, and it's like I have more time to myself because I recently moved out of the house that I was living in with my brothers to live by myself with my dad and my stepmom, and it's like I have a lot more time to just kind of reflect and think to myself, and I oftentimes like I don't know, I don't let my life go downhill as much.
Yeah.
Because before it would just happen, and then I would be like, well, damn, this happened really fast. I didn't even notice it. Now it's like I try to consciously like know what I'm doing and recognize shit. I don't know. It's just like having time to yourself is very important. Sometimes like what the hell is going on in your life. I don't know.
And to kind of realize that.
Right. Reflection is fucking huge. Like I don't know. Journaling too is like journaling is great because it just lets you get your thoughts out. And it's like shit that you wouldn't even think that you were thinking of just like kind of appears in your mind,
I think any sort of like creative expression is important, and I think everyone should find, like even if it's not like super creative, but finding some way to express what they're feeling like physically, I guess.
Yeah.
So whether it's, making music, drawing, painting, journaling, writing like an author, like a novel or story writing or, poetry or things like that, I think it's important for everyone to find an outlet to express themselves, I guess.
Very, very true. If you're left without an outlet too, it's like you can get like, I don't know, it's like music, awesome. Poetry, fucking awesome. Shit like that, awesome. But if your outlet is video games or your phone or drugs, if that's what you do with
like
your
relying
spare time,
on those things is you don't want to be relying on something that has like a negative side, I guess, or is
very
unhealthy.
True.
Or,
very true. Even if it's like not unhealthy, if it just doesn't help, like poetry and stuff, that really helps you think. Journaling, that really helps you think. Music really helps you just like rewire your brain and think about shit creatively. All that stuff is awesome, but like video games, is it really good for that much?
No,
not really.
Like, like as far as like self-expression and being in tune with yourself,
Yeah.
video games aren't that great. It has a lot of like mental, like actual like benefits and stuff with different parts of your brain,
like
seeing things differently, reaction time, seeing things in a 3D space. People are using it to help with Alzheimer's and stuff because it can help with your memory and it helps with all sorts of stuff. But it doesn't help with like the more emotional sides of your brain. And I think it's important to work on every part of your brain and kind of focus on all of those things, I guess.
I feel like the bottom line with like activities is like where you get the stimulation from. You know, if you get the stimulation from yourself, fucking awesome. You know, if you're creating that in your own brain, awesome. If you're getting that from somewhere else with useless information, like fucking like you know, learning how to fucking shoot people better in fucking Counter-Strike, it's not nearly as beneficial, you know? Yeah,
it's not nearly as beneficial, for sure. Yeah. I think like if it's just something, you know, you enjoy playing like games with the boys and you want to do that, and you know, it does have its brain benefits, or it's a career you want to pursue, or just like various other things. I think it does have its benefits, but I think it's important to keep your activities and just like I think in anything, I think it's important to keep things diverse and interesting and different and do multiple different things rather than, you know, limiting yourself to like only one type of activity or only one type of like group of people to hang out with or things like that. I think it's important to surround yourself with diversity and difference, I guess.
Balance. My mom always told me that as a kid, just keep a balance, you know.
I think life is just a whole balancing game. I think that's what it all comes down to. I think it's about balancing things and and I think as like life goes on, I think the most important skill that you kind of build is learning how well you can balance certain things and how to balance things better, I guess.
That's very factual wisdom. Yeah. But even in the Star Wars movie, that's like, I don't know, not like, I don't remember which one it was, but they were just talking about like, you know, there's a dark side and a light side to everything. It's all about like having a balance to shit, you know. Yeah.
I'd say any like balance, good thing, there's bad to it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And any bad thing, there's good to it, even. You know.
Yep. Reflection helps keep balance, and balance is one of the most important things you can learn. So that's why I think reflection is very important.
Reflection is huge in like any way you can reflect.
Exactly.
Even if it's just, you know, sitting there and thinking, but like trying to be undistracted, I think is helpful. I don't think it's necessary, but I think it's a huge help. And I think obviously, you know, different things might work for different people. I think for me personally, the things that work best is like visual arts and like just kind of undistracted time just on my own. But I think, you know, for other people, maybe kind of reflecting in a group with people or, you know, poetry is a huge one for a lot of people or things like that.
For me personally, fucking awesome.
And I think like those are, I think it's a different per person, and I think that's also one of like life's journeys is finding that reflection tool to help you balance, I guess.
Very true. All right, well, we're coming up on 58 minutes here pretty soon.
Yeah, dang.
That went fast,
That zoomed, bro.
See, like I said, bro, me and Jackson, we just be talking.
I know, we just be talking about shit. Because why the fuck not?
Right.
Because we don't do much with our lives, to be honest. We kind of we're kind of lazy fuckers. Right. Exactly. So we kind of we think we do a lot of thinking.
Right. Exactly. Might as well do something though. That's why we made the podcast. Why not?
Keep ourselves busy. You know, we're talking a lot anyway. We're keeping our brains active and thinking a lot anyway. We might as well, you know, share that with other people.
Right. I think first episode of the Earthwax podcast, pretty fucking successful.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
I
think I also learned a lot.
I think
conversation. Another way to reflect. Conversation. You know?
Conversation, is a huge way to reflect, I think.
Yep.
Even making a podcast, you know, even if it's just like
out there, man.
Even if it's not something that you plan on sharing with the rest of the world, even if it's just for yourself or something like that, even like with a lot of art, you might not be planning on sharing it, or music and stuff.
Exactly.
But just making it for yourself and just talking and recording it in kind of that formula or like format of things. I think there's a lot of different formats and mediums, and I think it's about finding the right mixture of a few things to help yourself reflect. And try and find like you might find like, oh, journaling works really well for me to reflect. Find another thing. Try painting. And have a few outlets so that you can, you know, mix it up and you don't get bored.
Creative outlets are where it's at, my friends.
Honestly.
Yeah. All right. I think think that's wrapping up for today.
I think that's the pilot right there.
Right, yeah. If you made it this far in the podcast, you're fucking awesome.
You're a G.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for...
58 minutes. 59. Right. Oh, my God.
Yeah, bro. It's crazy.
Zooming. Yep. Dang near an hour.
Yep. Yeah. All right. First episode successful. We're tuning out. We shall see y'all another time. Thank you for tuning in.